and welcome back, everyone, to the Spoilercast for episode 5, the penultimate episode of Falcon Winter Soldier. As always, I am Mitch, Mitch 692, and of course, I'm joined by Sean.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm currently out of social media jail, so you can follow me at Instagram at MarvinTheMartian_12. No spoilers on the Instagram. Cute baby pictures. Maybe something on a movie set. I don't know, but nothing spoiler.
But best Looney Tune. There you go.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Absolutely best Looney Tune.
If I could trust one Looney Tune, I would trust Marvin the Martian.
Yeah.
Best design.
What I wouldn't trust, though, is John Walker making a shield.
I wouldn't trust him.
I'm getting straight into it right at the end. That man, Art Attack, he is not.
Well,
horrific.
It's like what
job. Spray paint job was bad. No,
Well, I think I was saying like on the off recording is like it's his mentality, like you're catching him at the right moment where that's what he's thinking, and he's putting his feelings on physically onto. You're gonna get a refined version of that eventually. It's just this is what you're getting as a proto U.S. agent. Like he's in that mentality where he's in disgust and like he's taking everything.
He's like, I am Captain America. I have. It doesn't matter if I have that shield. I am still Captain America.
You made exactly. Like it's just like that courtroom scene. He's like, you made me this. This is what you made me. Like you can't. You're not backing me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
honestly,
say that,
I loved this episode to death. Just as a quick first impression, this is one of my favorite things Marvel's ever done. Just this one singular episode. Obviously, it needs the other 4 to work as a whole, but it's in the vacuum. It's one of my favorite things.
Because I think it fleshes out the character just a little bit more. I think hopefully people and fans of the show is like they kind of see the point of what the creators were doing was trying to do with the character, and like you'll eventually get the explanation work at the end of the show, but like hopefully the people that had that strong opinion about that character is like, oh, I get it. That's exactly what they wanted me to do, or they think, but not physically attack a real person.
But don't go the Rob Liefeld route and be like Team Walker. Don't be that guy.
No.
Don't take Walker's side. You're not supposed to take Walker's side. Walker's the bad guy.
Look, if you're taking Walker's side, then there's fundamentally something wrong.
I was going to say, maybe lay off the juice. You might have some kind of chemical-induced rage. Don't go there.
or maybe seek professional help, because like this guy,
go see a therapist.
Because you seem to have a lot of rage inside you. The character, like if the creators never intended them to be. Like you want to sympathize with Walker to a point, but like you don't want to be I
find it very hard to sympathize. I get his whole plight in this episode.
Yeah,
and it's it's like I'm just a product of what you made me. I did all your training. I followed your mandates. This is what I was trained to do. I got awarded this because of this, which is what I did. Just follow what you wanted. So I can fully understand it. I can't relate to his plight.
No,
but it's like I still have zero sympathy for the dude.
Yeah, I mean, when I say sympathy, I think it's more of like he's a product of the the government system. He's not. He might not be inherently bad, but he is bad. He thinks bad, and like. I think the whole point was like, if you give the government an opportunity to replace a character like Captain America, this is exactly what you get. You get John Walker. That's.
It's also it's a combination of that and like the immense amount of pressure. Like as he says, it's like they have no idea what it takes, and this is a white guy in America, this decorated soldier, falling flat on his face.
Oh, 100%. Publicly, too.
Yeah, so, like, this is that. Like, imagine what it's going to be like for Sam. He's going to be able to do anything he wants. Not anything he wants, but he's going to be able to do everything right and still get trashed.
Still be wrong. Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you look at the comic run with him being Captain America, it's gonna be almost like that, where like like I love the fact that Sam is not putting Steve on a pedestal that much anymore. He's more like, hey, Steve's not here. Steve, like at the beginning of the show, he's like basically giving Steve the googly eyes, and like, and now he's at a point after all the things he knows, he's like, this is not Steve's decision, like Steve, like, because like when Bucky had that conversation, it's like I get what Bucky's saying, because he's like that's, I mean, he's a different, I think he's in a different position, and it's not a wrong position, he's just like, he's scared that he's going to go right back to the Winter Soldier, personnel, and he feels like he's failing. He still puts Steve on a pedestal, where Sam is at this point is like, I need to do this for me, because I'm not a white guy. I'm a and like you see what they've done to Isaiah, like, and this is a guy that's a hero, it's because of the color of his skin, and like,
I was gonna say, I with that as a Saya scene or a Saya, I adored the fact that it was literally what he was saying is just exactly what Steve done.
Yeah.
You watch the first Avenger, and it's no different. Steve gets to be a decorative war hero. He gets to do this and that.
The only difference is the color of your skin. That's literally, it's the only difference. And I love, and even in that conversation, like, and I understand where Isaiah's coming from. He's like, I don't care what that white guy did. Like, I don't care what Steve did, like, they did this to me because of that. And then Sam's like, Steve didn't put you in jail.
You can understand his resentment towards Steve. It's like, well, hang on, I did no different to that, and yet he gets to be this big celebrated figure, and I'm buried for 30 years.
But then, like, Sam put him in his place, by saying, Steve didn't put you in jail.
Steve didn't put you in jail.
Like, and then you see the demeanor of Isaiah kind of, calm down. He goes from angry to, like,
he gets off the offensive slightly.
Yeah,
he's still very much defensive, but you can tell
for sure,
which calms down.
And he's a character that has every right to be defensive, because, like,
100%.
Because, I mean, let's face it, it's not just like the government did just put him in jail. They erased his life. They they demeaned him on a level that is like kind of like on par with what the Nazis did to the Jewish people, and it's like, I think that's what I love about the whole thing in itself, is like, everybody puts the government on a pedestal and says, we're doing it for the right reasons, but then, like, you see in the back end of the whole of all the conversation, it's like, the United States is doing black ops things that are just like so horrendous, like, this is on I mean, they this is literally what they did to Isaiah is basically what the Nazis did, I mean,
it's also like, the Tuskegee or Tuskegee, I can't remember.
Tuskegee.
Like that whole thing, like,
there's a lot of blood. There's a lot of skeletons in the closet, and like the United States is kind of built on a foundation of racism, and like, I feel like the show is exposing that, to an audience that probably wouldn't know, like.
Yeah, it's bringing up some very uncomfortable points.
But that's that's what makes a good show a good show.
Exactly. Yeah, I know people moan about it, and people are going to moan about it, and it's like I get it, but at the same time, it's like, but that's the interesting part of a show. Like, no one likes being made to feel uncomfortable. No one likes being had the mirror hold up and being like, yeah, you're the bad guy. Like, no one on this planet, no matter what you like, is gonna like that. So I get it, but at the same time, it's like, it's not a fault of the show. No one's saying you specifically are the bad guy. You are the bad guy when you say the shit that people say. Like,
well, it's like, like, I feel like, they could have played it safe. They could have done a whole, like,
absolutely, and it would have been a lesser show for it.
Yeah, and like, that's what I loved about. And then, like, I'm trying to speak from an unbiased, perspective, but like, this is why I love these shows. You know, like these shows. I mean, specifically this one because of like just it's the message that it sends. It's like, you know, it talks about the uncomfortable parts of history and like kind of fictionalizes some things, but it's like that's good story. You know, like it's something to say. You know, it's not empty and hollow. It's got a message. You know, and like I think the writers and the showrunners all should be commended for asking these questions. You know.
Yeah, and it does something I don't see, or I haven't seen a lot of personally, and it's where, obviously, you know, the scene itself, but like, just the implication of it, where Bucky literally just apologizes.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, when me and Steve talked it out, which by the way, nice little bit to end games. Like they did actually talk about it. Like people going, oh, well, why didn't Bucky walk over? He's his friend too. It's like because they talked about it. Like it was implied in Endgame. He's just outright said it here. Like we, you know, he goes when we were talking about it, we never thought what it meant for a black man, and why would they? How can they? They can't relate to that experience. They have no, especially for two guys from that generation that haven't lived that, in the grand scheme of things, that long in present day.
Yeah,
like they wouldn't have known. They couldn't have known
that. Well, it's that. I think Steve saw something in Sam, and that's why he made the decision. Is like, hey, you know, this is the guy for the job. You know, he never really put two and two together that the color of the skin would be.
It's the pitfall of being colorblind.
Yeah, I mean,
right? You don't see color, but in not seeing color, you're missing out a lot of important nuance and details.
Well, I mean, like you got to also consider that both his characters were practically asleep for a majority of the time, so they're not
one more so than the other. No.
Yeah, but I mean, even when Bucky was out, he wasn't
in Bucky. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, he knew what was going on, but did he know that there was a movement going on in the United States? No, he just knew what he was doing. You know, like that. I'm not saying it gives him a pass, but like if Steve would have realized that, I think he might have been a little bit more. I don't know. Like, I don't know how you would handle that.
Like, would you want this?
Yeah. So more of a question.
Not like, no, this is your thing. Like, the pressures, what's the word? The unintentional pressure that Steve put on Sam is, obviously, it wasn't kind of a place of malice or anything. You know, he's not sitting there rubbing his 108-year-old man hands, being like,
yeah. And I think Walker represents that like he isn't he's not racist,
but it's funny to make Walker racist. He find it hilarious.
I think he's more of an extreme, like I'm gonna, like someone's telling me to do something, like he's an army guy, like when you tell them to do something they do it, you know, and like they don't ask questions. They're not like Steve did ask questions, but like it's a completely different, you know, like I don't know. I say
it's the mirror to Steve and Asaya, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
I think
Walker, for all intents and purposes, is the Bradley to Sam.
Yeah.
Or it's the Bradley to Steve, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, Walker for Sam. Like, they're gonna make mistakes. Like Sam isn't gonna be perfect at the bat. He's gonna make a mistake. He's gonna get ridiculed for it. He's not gonna get an honorable discharge from the start. You know, we're going to ignore the fact that you killed a guy and to give you this, but we're going to take your benefits away. Like, you know, he's still getting off.
He's still walking around.
He's not getting put in jail. He's still going to wear that cap suit and have his trash bin lid shield. Like, you know, he's gonna walk around as someone. But you know, if it was Sam or anyone else, it happened.
I think the true villains are like the true antagonist of the show is like the idea. You know,
it's like one. You have an antagonist. There's not an outright villain.
I would say the government. If you had to put a place like.
Yeah, if you had to put, it's like, you know, again, like WandaVision, if you had to put a pin on a villain, it is the government. You know, in both shows, it's the same. You know, Sword was the villain in that. The government's clearly the villain in this.
Yeah, and like it's not too far from the truth. I mean, I'm not patriotic, but you look at like when you're looking at this, you can't look. You gotta look at the shades of gray around it, and like our hands are clean of like, you know, of the blood.
the shades of grey that keep hold of the shield.
Yeah.
Who'd ever thought that the shield didn't belong to the U.S. government, but the U.S. government thinks they own it?
Yeah. Surprise,
How very
surprise.
how,
I
how
mean,
very point.
if you had to put a person in that owns it, I would say the Wakandans owns it, because that's their
Oh
metal
yeah.
that was shaped out of.
Do we
Like,
know Howard Stark got that metal in the first place? I don't think it
they
was
got
ever
it from.
said.
Yeah, I think they did. Well, they don't think they said it, but I think implied. I think they got it from Ulysses Claw, because they had a relationship.
But
If you,
no,
if
he
you,
wouldn't have got it from Claw because Claw wasn't that old.
oh, was it? I think. Well, I
Well,
mean,
you
I
think,
know that
like
there
Howard
was the.
Stark made that in the 40s. Like Claw
That's
was
true.
not that.
That's true. He's not a time machine. I mean, I would, if I had to say something, I would say that he pillaged it at some point.
Yeah, I'd say
He's seen
there's
it.
got to be. I haven't seen the first Avenger in years, so if there's a line there where it implies that they got it stolen or they've got it for black market,
Well,
fair
I think
play.
there
I
was.
wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think it was a line saying that, but it did say that it was from Wakanda, I believe, if I remember correctly. Like, and like you gotta. I don't know.
I
Maybe
think
I
the
haven't
first
seen it.
Wakandan mention was in Age of Ultron.
Well, I know. Well, it might have been from, like, he vaguely said it, maybe, but like
Yeah,
you got to realize, like, he probably didn't just walk up to him and say, "Hey, can I take some of this stuff and borrow it and make something out of it?" He probably went over there, poached it from them, and then walked away from it. Like you got to realize that Stark wasn't. He was another character, was kind of like not. I mean,
a bit shady.
Considering what he did, as a job, it kind of would say that he's not exactly the best guy. Like he made weapons of war. Like,
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
Like,
Literally a war profiteer.
Yeah. And like I'm pretty sure that he didn't ask for permission when he took that. So. I don't know. I if I had to place ownership, it's the Wakandans. That's, I think, who has the right to tail. But then you got the government saying, "Oh, it's our colors on the shield, so it's ours." Like, we own this.
So would you just chip the paint off a little bit, like it's awesome.
But yeah, I think you could. I'm sure the government has the right to appoint a new Captain America, but they don't have the right to use that shield.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Like, that's probably theirs.
I wish I've seen the first Avenger more recently than I have, because I could have. But yeah, it's very very interesting line to pick up on that.
So, do you want to get to the
since we're talking about that scene specifically, we have to mention it. Like, now, I've never watched Seinfeld, and I haven't seen. What is it, Veep?
Veep, yeah.
I haven't seen that either. I kind of want to watch it now.
You should. I think it's a great show.
Like, it's
better than Seinfeld.
Wow, I might get some people.
Yeah, hot take.
That's if the audience watching this is that old to watch Seinfeld. I had someone the other day be like, "Oh, people who never watched Seinfeld when it aired don't like this cameo." And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
She's done more than just Seinfeld. I like Seinfeld, but then you also got to realize it was the product of that era, and like, there's a lot of people. I don't think I can endorse Michael Richardson all that much anymore. So, like,
no.
But yeah, I think she's a great actress.
As I say, I've seen her around. I haven't seen her in a lot of things. Like, she's a great actress. I am 100% here for that character.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? Of all people, you just drop that on me? Like, what the hell?
It was funny when people were saying, "Oh, the cameo in episode 5 is going to be just like what they did with WandaVision and dupe us." It's like, no.
No, but I adore the people saying it was going to be Goldie Hawn. And part of me was like, please let it be Goldie Hawn.
I mean, look,
have the entire family.
Why not? I think that would have been interesting too. But I think her, Louis Dreyfus. I mean, look, it's going to be interesting to see what the character has for the future. And like, if you read the comics, you might have an idea.
I was going to say, because she's for people that don't know, everyone's going to know now. She is a Madam Hydra.
Yep.
She's not Viper, which I've seen people be like, "Oh, why not use Viper?" It's like, well, they did own, or you had the rights to use Viper at the time. It was only a couple of months. It would have been a really easy change to make, but at the same time, this one ties into Black Widow being a Russian sleeper agent. If that's the route, Vanity Fair being like, "Oh, according to sources, she's in Black Widow, and that's supposed to be her first appearance," which I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe, yeah. It would line up more. I like the use of God, I can't. Her name is very very mouthful.
I said it to Armin on the commentary. Her name is a sentence that I cannot remember. It's too damn long for me to remember.
I can't even say it one time, let alone two times. So,
it's never stuck in my head. I've always called her Madam Hydra, or like the.
I'll just refer to her as Contessa at this point.
Yeah, the Quintessa of it is it's a bit that sticks out.
I think what they have in store for her in the future is going to be very interesting, to especially hardcore comic fans, because
so you can kind of, or at least from an outside perspective, you can kind of maybe get an inkling of where they're going to go, because she's essentially like a Nick Fury type character. She's got a relationship with Nick Fury. They had a thing going in the comics. She was part of Leviathan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got Nick Fury still out there, and it's gonna be interesting to see what he thinks of this. Or maybe
because this is very reminiscent of not the Iron Man 1 post-credit scene. To me, this is more the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
This is where they meet up.
Comes in.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's very much a Nick Fury recruiting people, and it's like, why would you want a very damaged Captain America?
Easy to control.
There's that. I was more meaning like what specific purpose? Like what is she setting up? Like what's Captain America a part of?
Yeah. No comment.
Oh hey, Dark Avengers stuff.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this. At least for fans, anyway.
My little theory that I quite like is, if I know people are saying that just combine Thunderbolts and Dark Avengers, you don't need them both. It's like they're entirely different teams,
two totally different teams.
Yeah.
I think
it's
you can have both.
You can have a Dark Avengers set up by Hydra, or I'd go Leviathan just to make it slightly different, just so I can see her in that Leviathan armor, because fantastic. Yeah. Like do that route, and then have like the Thunderbolts be like a fake villain team to try and put the Dark Avengers on the radar and set them up in the public as like the new squad and all that.
Or you could use them as somebody's version, maybe bounty hunters. Because you still have the Sokovia Courts in play. And there's another person out there that could be linked to all these characters. Been around for a long time. Could be possibly, a part of this equation. So,
I don't know. It's gonna.
Yeah. But I didn't want to say it out loud. You to say it.
It's fine when it's coming from me. I quite like the idea of having a Thunderbolts. I think with how this show did Zemo, which the fact that he wore the mask once, come on. I know he's coming back. He's coming back. It's like, God damn it.
I think it's just to give, give a little bit to the fans. That they. Look, as much as I love the character in Civil War, it could have been anybody that did that, but they picked Zemo for a reason. I think you're going to eventually see, you're going to see more.
He's sticking around. This was obvious. Right. My favorite phrase for these shows is quick and dirty character development.
He's going to the Raft, for God's sakes.
Exactly. Who's in the Raft? Patsy Walker. Hey, Marvel. You put Patsy Walker on the Thunderbolts, God damn it.
Who controls the Raft?
Exactly, Thunderbolt Ross. Exactly. Which is precisely what I was I was going to work towards. You know, Zemo ends up on the raft, which is controlled by Russ. So there, i.e., your Thunderbolts comes from over there, but you have Quintessa over here recruiting John Walker. So it's like there seems to be two things happening at the same time, and I find it very interesting.
Two different teams could be possibly being formed at the same time. Who knows? You know, like I don't think Walker is going to be. So don't get used to Walker being the antagonist. It's just
no, because like let's be honest, like even like Walker was always a dick in the comics. The dude was a West Coast Avenger, which could why have a West Coast Avengers and the Dark Avengers? Just make the Dark Avengers West Coast Avengers.
You also got to realize that, like in the comics too, he eventually became really loyal to Steve. So like and like you know, I don't want to use the word John Walker's misunderstood or but there is a slight sympathetic part. I'm not saying I feel sorry for him, but it's like I get it. I get why he's pissed off.
Yeah.
I get and like you also got to realize that the formula he took was a slightly tainted version of what Steve took, and it's like I think eventually he's going to get that. I'm not saying he's going to be completely, but he's going to like chum up to Sam, but he's going to be, I think there's going to be an arc to that character eventually.
Yeah. And it'll be an interesting one as well. Cause is it so different from Steve's?
It's almost a mirror.
Yeah. Steve, for better or for worse, busted the door down with the Howling Commandos with no different to how Walker was acting in this show. Like the dude had a gun. Like
that's the point.
The key difference is Steve never killed with intent and malice. Like Walker straight up murdered that dude, and he's now walking around lying about the fact that he was the one that killed Lamar. Like, hey, Lamar's parents, I definitely did the job. It's like,
yeah. Well, I think a part of that is that the serum amplifying his, the frustration and like impotence to.
It's like that. It's that need to be right and not being able to accept that you've made a mistake. That's ultimately his downfall. Is like, he's been gassed up the entire time. It's like, you constantly make the right decision in the heat of battle. Like, but enough. The last words Lamar said to the guy that at least we've seen, and then this all happened. So in his head, he's justified.
Yeah, and I think the real Walker was the Walker that you saw originally. I think the Walker you're seeing now is just a amplified version of his like what he's feeling, and like I don't want to put too much sympathy on him, but like there is
but it's all there. It's like whether you feel sympathy for him or not is not the show's not asking to be sympathetic from him. It's kind of like it's like look, the dude's under an intense amount of pressure. He's taking this. Like he is. I hate the phrase. He's that one bad day.
Well, I think it's more tragic than sympathy. I guess if I had to put a word to it, it's a more of a tragic. He's been steered in this direction, and then he's been pumped up for so long. That in like the government saying, "Hey, you're the new Captain America," so he thinks that what he's doing is the right thing. That's what it all comes down to. Is like he is the hero of his own story. Like whether he realizes that he is kind of misguided and like, that's eventually going to be, I think
John Walker could be a very, and I assume that's going to be part of his arc is how veterans are treated.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's like they go through all this, they're then left to their own devices of PTSD and all this, and then sooner or later something horrific happens. So I think you could use Walker as a really good way to kind of
a good metaphor,
at least bring that up and be like, hey, this isn't a great thing. Because
I mean, like speaking from experience, like what you see over there is it's always there. You know, it's almost like what Bucky feels almost every day. You know, like he knows what he's doing, and he realized Walker's been ordered to do things that were like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I have to do this. You know, because it's either A, or you're going to get court-martialed, or B, I have to do it and have to deal with it internally. You know, it's like those are the choices that people that serve have. You know, like they don't have the luxury of debating it with an officer. Like the officer says something, you have to do it. You know, whether you think it's wrong, and you end up receiving the repercussions of the actions, whether it's accidental or not. You know, like that's what I think is going to be brought up with the character is like, this guy's broken, you know, and like he's I think he's going to eventually try to fix him, like not fix himself, but like, you know, deal.
He's going to want a redemption arc. He's going to, which I can kind of see like being not the next point he's at, because I feel like he's gonna I think he's gonna need to prove himself against Sam first, even though that's clearly not gonna go the way he wants. He's then gonna have to fail, and then he's got to get picked up again, or fail again.
Right now, fail. Well, like I think right now he only he blames Sam and Bucky for whatever's happening. Yeah. Because like. He tried to extend the olive branch, what he thought might have been right. They're like, nah, that's not how we want to do this, you know. Like, this is not.
And he took that bit at the start as like a sneaky, like, no, they're just trying to make me look bad. They always want the shield, like that's all this is about.
Exactly, and then it amplified it, you know, almost repeatedly, you know, with him being basically punked by everybody, you know, like whether it be the Flag Smashers or the Dora Milaje, you know, like he's been like his ego has been fractured tremendously, you know.
He's a cautionary tale of the fragile ego. People. Like,
and then on top of that, you have all that pressure and stuff like that. Like you know, the show has like a couple messages, and that's what I loved about it. It's like it's kind of layered. Not just saying.
Though at the same time, it's an interesting angle because it takes away that, you know, not like Captain America ever really had this, but it's, you know, the Spider-Man has that whole effect of, you know, anyone can be under the mask, anyone can do this. Captain America is very much like, oh no, there's only really one person that can be like this, and
he holds him.
Like, this is really like grinding that into your skull. Like, no, no one's. It's kind of doing what Zemo doesn't want. It's still the characters are kind of moving away from Steve as the world moves on, but at the same time, it's kind of like no one's like Steve. Like, look how fantastic Steve was. You know, he dealt with this pressure, and look how good Steve was.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
Well, I think a lot of the characters, especially like Sam and Bucky, they put in some cases John Walker put Steve on a pedestal. In like, you know, and like they think that they need to live up to what he did instead of doing what they think they should be doing, you know. Like I think Sam is kind of breaking away from that, you know, more and more each episode.
Yes, Sam's doing what the world needs to do. Like it's kind of, you know, Zemo's not wrong. You know, you super soldiers, you get put on pedestals, they get idolized, all this and all that. Sam's kind of realized actually, you know, Steve wasn't the problem. The idolization is the issue. You know, this guy can do no wrong. I need to do things my way. Walker is that side effect of like, oh, the whole world's lived by this thing and this ideal from this one man. I'm trying to replicate that, and you can't replicate that. Steve was Steve. You can't get that.
It's almost like Steve did a way too good of a job being Captain America to a point where like you can't do that. Even if you could do that, would you want to do that? You know, like you need to.
You can. There's a very easy argument to be made that Steve didn't do a great job, but it was said that he did a great job.
Well, I looked at Steve as like he fumbled and made mistakes, but like he never. I don't think he ever. I mean, with maybe Civil War being an exception, but for the most part, he owned his mistakes. You know. He never looked at himself as everybody else looks at him. He looked at himself as, I'm flawed. I'm still that skinny butt guy, but yet I'm still powerful. So I got to do what I think is right. And even in that is like, it's like what the right thing to do might not be the right thing to do, and like that was an example of Civil War. He felt like what he did with Tony was the right thing to do, and it wasn't, and like I think that's what I think you can. I feel like Sam needs to live by his own, like, make his own mistakes, and not
learn from Steve, but at the same time you have to make your own mistakes and get your own experiences.
Yeah, it's like almost like a parent talking to their kids. It's like the parent could say, "Don't do this, don't do that," but it's like the kid has to learn from what the parent did and not replicate that mistake. And not, and I think John is like complete opposite, where he idolizes them so much that he's trying to replicate the and you can't, like, I think when John said he was like, I'm trying to do the best job I can possibly do, I kind of believed it, in a way.
Oh yeah, I believe that I believe and agree he's doing what he thought was right.
Was right, yeah. And I think when he took the serum, everything kind of got skewed a little bit, where
it's that it makes you more of yourself.
Yeah. And like he's a dick. He was a dick in the show too, like that whole thing after the police station scene, kind of a dick. It's like, hey, but like, I think, I don't know. I think that he approached being the character the wrong way, where Sam is trying to do it the right way.
I'll say all that Sam, Steve, John, they're all very much that. Steve was that embodiment of the man that's never known power, respects it.
Yeah.
John's always had that power in being in the military. He's always been given more and more and more. Whereas Sam had it, but he's not taken. Obviously, the power here is literally the serum. It's not a very subtle metaphor. So Sam's like, no, I don't want it. He doesn't want that temptation of it.
Yeah, I think I don't think you need the super soldier serum to be the best person you can possibly be. It just gives you that advantage to keep up, but it's like it comes at a cost. You can't, like, even with the serum that Steve took, there was a possibility that he could have been. It's just like what I think the callback for the whole show would be summed up with what Erskine said. In the first Avenger, it's like, I think that sums up the arc of
not a perfect soldier, but a good man.
Yeah, and like you got all these people now taking serum, and like you're starting to see, like with Carly, you're starting to see the cracks in the armor. She's not doing right now. She's not doing it because she feels like it feels like more of a vengeance thing in her case. And
it's gotten to ultimately, it's her own fault. She's the reason why. She's the catalyst for everything going absolutely tits up. She's the one that killed Lamar. She had the mask on at that point, didn't she? But she took it off.
Yeah, but
so I suppose that's. I kind of guess that's why John's like, no, I got the guy, because it was clearly the guy. You didn't expect the little guy.
Well, I think with John killing that guy, I think that guy was the closest thing to John.
Yeah.
Because Carly was out, she was gone. And like he clearly not catching her, so he was going to take a life regardless of who did it or not. He's just going to say, "Hey, an eye for an eye," and I don't care who it is. He's a part of the group. He's a part of what happened. He did that. He might not have directly killed Lamar, but he was a part of the group that did that. So I'm going to take one of these people. That's how I thought. That's how
you take my guy. I take yours.
Yeah, and that's how I felt about the scene with John. He's like, I don't care who it was. It could have been anybody with that mask on. I wanted somebody. Period.
Yeah, and then Carly's like, oh no, but he's done this on purpose, even though I clearly like. Yeah,
with her,
she might not have intentionally done it for Lamar, but it's like, you just kicked a dude.
Well, not just that. The scene, I mean, if it was the scene before that of the episode, like, she clearly killed people intentionally. When she
and so she also did say she was going to kill Captain America, so she did go out there with intent. So it's like, but again, it's all down to that serum. Like, that serum sucks.
Yeah, it's a watered down, flea market version of what Steve took. Steve took what the purest form of it, and like it. I mean, it all goes back to with the Incredible Hulk. That was one of the reasons why Incredible Hulk is Incredible Hulk. It's like this guy, he's trying to replicate that formula, and then somebody got it to a point. They got it. There's an asterisk next to that. Like
I was gonna say, this one works to an extent. It's just there's a little tiny line of code in there. That's not exactly right.
And there's also the fact that the person who made it is not a good guy, so he's not gonna he's gonna take shortcuts. It doesn't matter what, like, if it has side effects about mentally unfringing people. It doesn't care. He wants the money, and that's all he cares about. If it works, it works. And like with Erskine's formula, it was more pure, I think, in the sense that that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah, which I wanna get back to. Actually, let's get to it now, because I really want to talk about like the opening scene and all the action. I say all the action in this, like the two beats that there are, because they were talking about. But what is it? Sharon.
Yeah. the elephant in the room, so to speak.
Sharon.
I can't say anything. I'm not gonna spoil this.
I'm not expecting you to. I have convinced myself that girl is strong. It makes that the whole.
It makes sense. I mean,
it's like, I busted you out of Algerian prison, backtrack to kill Sam once. You're gonna try and kill him again? Like, she's a scroll.
I mean, look. If the shoe fits, I guess it fits.
If the green pointy ears and the nutsack of a chin fits, you are wearing that, and she's.
But I think the problem with that is like that hasn't been established with the Skrulls in the MCU just yet, and I don't know if this show is probably the best way to do that. And look, I'm not the writers of the show, so I can't. But like,
I think it's if we've had a post-credit scroll, which it kind of is. We've had one post-credit scroll with WandaVision, and I feel like if you're doing Secret Invasion and you've outright said the Skrulls are the bad guys about how they've infiltrated every facet of human life, starting with Sharon, because you have to have that reveal. I don't think they're going to reveal it in this. I hope they kind of don't. And you let that simmer and stew a little bit, and
marinate,
and then I said it for a while. You can't have one of the heroes be a Skrull. In the context of the movies and like legitimate time passing, you can't do that, because then you wasted hours with characters that you don't even know, and then you're expected to just jump straight back on board with these people you don't know. You can't do that. Whereas someone like Sharon, you can absolutely do that with.
Yeah, she's a peripheral character that doesn't really.
Yeah.
I mean, she has a little bit to do with the plot, but doesn't really have anything to do. Like, there's no, like, if you would have done Sam or Bucky as a Skrull, that, like you said, it would have been a waste of time. You know, like, I feel like the rug would have been feel like it was being pulled out from under me if I was a fan and I saw that.
And it would feel really cheap as well. It's like, guess what? No, Captain America's a Skrull. It's like, no. No.
I think it. Right now, in the context of that story, I think they're trying. I don't think that would be a great idea to have like a person that you've been kind of along with the journey for throughout the whole TV show to turn out to be someone that you're not really, really who he is.
Whereas someone like Sharon, it's a bit ambiguous to what I say. It's very ambiguous to whether she got dusted or and there's.
I mean.
If you're going to hide out somewhere as someone else, you're going to go to a pirate island, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense either way. Even if, she isn't Skrull and she's just, like, still wanted by the government, in some way.
Her being there, if she's not a Skrull, her being there, fine. It makes sense. It made sense 2 weeks ago when they introduced her to the show. It makes sense.
Yeah,
it's the whole willing to let Sam be killed as a bounty by Batroc of all bloody people, like that. No, that's not. That don't sit with me. No, there's something clearly off about this character. It's too big of a change.
Yeah, we haven't seen her in a long time, so I mean, like, there's a lot of she's doing in her own.
Yeah, you can go either way with it, but she makes the most sense for me to be a Skrull, because we have a clear end and then a pickup point.
Yeah,
of where
it does make sense. Yeah, well, it does make sense in a way.
You can still have Sharon walking about like in the raft. You can have that as the big reveal, like, oh yeah, she's in the raft because we caught her, or whatever. And then Sharon or Skrull Carter is in Mandatory.
Or they just do what the comics did and just whoever they're impersonating, they just take and just imprison. You know, like that's always a good possibility too. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where the character goes from here. Is all I can say.
It's one of those with Secret Invasion coming up. It's you need to do someone that you know is a Skrull. It just can't be someone huge. No,
you're not going to get any main characters Skrull. I can tell you that. I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've outright said it, but like it doesn't make sense.
No, because the way Feige said it in that Investors Day presentation was more they're in the facets of like the government and business. Like they're running the world, so to speak. They're not everyday people or heroes. So it kind of makes sense for like the Sokovia Accord people to be Skrulls, because they're like, yeah, no, we're trying to do this over here. We don't need you middling about. Like, go away.
I mean, who's to say Ross isn't either? I mean, like it's a like
Ross could very. You know what? I wouldn't be mad. Would not be mad if Ross was a Skrull.
I to me, like yeah. I think I would rather him not be one, to be honest with you, because he's just an asshole anyway. So anything he does can be justifiable.
I wouldn't be mad, but at the same time, you know, it's like it could work if you make him a Skrull. If not, fair enough. It's just General Ross. Yeah. But Sharon, I think Sharon works.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how the two there's two storylines going on at the end of this show that will tie together at some point. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Contessa's doing something.
Very Dark Avengers zone.
Yeah, or Secret Warriors, and just, you know, who knows? Who knows?
I say, I think it's a very purposeful pick to go with that version of Madam Hydra / the Leviathan stuff. I think that's.
I'm going to be leaning more towards the Thunderbolts than Secret Warriors, but it's just my personal opinion. But like, you know, I think, I after watching pretty much all the episodes so far, how's your feelings towards the show now? Because I remember the early opinions. You were like, it is, you know, like you thought it might have been more playing it safe. I mean, you still have that feeling so far?
I still find it a very, for lack of a better word, safe. It's still
by the numbers.
No, I think not paint by numbers. Because like even just saying
kind of condescending when you say it.
Yeah, like, even just like saying safe is like, oh, you know, you just a nice safe little show. Like
I know what you mean by
it's what I'd expect from this show. Everything about this like has been what's gone on in the show, like plot wise, isn't where I was expecting it to go, but how it's gone
structured.
About. Yeah, like, you know, I expected there to be talks about racism and, you know, inequality and mistreatment of soldiers and all of that, just based on who they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's a,
you know, it's kind of how like one division, you're like, oh yeah, it's going to deal with mental health to an extent. Like it's clearly it has to. It's that character. You've got to deal with that theme and that conversation. Whereas that show was obviously very structurally different, and it played itself out different. With this one, it's like, oh yeah, it's the buddy cop comedy action, not comedy, but you know, it's got its little laughs in there. So,
and to be clear, I knew exactly what you meant by safe. I wasn't like,
I knew. It's just I hate saying it because I feel like I'm doing the show a disservice, because it's talking about race and everything this day and age. I don't feel like it is safe. It's something that needs to be said, but I don't think it's a safe thing to do. I think these it's very controversial, unfortunately, and
weird.
Yeah, like it's just weirdly controversial, and it's controversially controversial to talk about.
I loved it. I loved how they presented it in the show. It wasn't
it didn't hold back, and I feel like sometimes Marvel can hold back.
Well,
I think WandaVision slightly held back in talking about the mental health. I think unless it was
towards
like
the end.
They really tried to make it really subtly, but I think they kind of the finale of that show lost it a little bit. Where I feel like this one's not gonna do that.
But I think coming from the creators like Marcus Spielman, I mean, like it's a guy of color, talking about the issue. You know, I don't think you could get any white. I don't think you could. Of course, there's white writers on the show, but like he's the showrunner. He steers the show in a direction that he feels he's controlling the ship basically. And like I know that the conversations they were having with him when they were in talks with him is like, I want to tell the story that I know I need to be in a construct of what you need, but I need to know that I could be able to talk about it, you know, as freely as possible.
Yeah,
and like
I'll play by your rules if you play by mine. Like,
yeah, it's like I'll scratch your back and I'll scratch yours.
So I'll play with these toys in this little sandbox, but I want to play with them this way.
Yeah, this is the way I want to play with them, and I'll give you like, you know, and I think once the show ends, I'm sure there's gonna be the round of like interviews with him, and like, you know, for the most part, I know that Feige's like, hey, like I think he's doing what he's doing with these shows. He's giving the creators more leadway. You know, like it's not like what they did.
It very much feels like it. It very much feels like. I don't think you would have got this in the movie. This sort of.
No, well, it's sort of like the reason why he did it, as far as I know, is more of like what happened with. Oh man, I'm having a brain fart. Who was supposed to direct Ant-Man?
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Yeah, it was more of like what the Edgar Wright situation was, where like, you know, like Edgar Wright didn't want to, like they were more mandating that people at the time what to do, and I think eventually they started to kind of loosen the leash a little bit on the creators, and I think these shows are a nice result of that. You know, like it's servicing the characters, and in return, it's also saying something. Yeah.
But I do really enjoy how the show was made, because one of my this episode really it focused on the whole Sam's family life and the problems at home and the boat and Bucky showing up to that, and I think that entire scene really kind of made me realize that the boat is a metaphor for the show and their character arcs. And I never realized that before, and it really it hit me the third time I watched it, because I watched it, do the commentaries. I watched it twice technically, and then I watched it by myself later later Friday, and it really just kind of like bonked me on the head. I was like, the boat's a metaphor. I was like, of course. I don't realize how I didn't get that before. It was just right then I was like, you know, obviously there's a problem, they can fix it, you know.
I love the scene that came after that where Sam and him were throwing the frisbee.
One of my favorite moments, like, period.
It's like, you know, it's a training montage, but like with the conversation. You know,
I say they're just playing catch, and it makes me laugh that, you know, Sam can use the shield when he's just casually throwing it back and forth, but when he's actually like putting some oomph behind it, like the dude can't throw it for crap. It's just like at first throw where like it does the frisbee thing where it like bubbles out and it just falls to the ground. I love that. That montage was fantastic. I thought.
Plus, I love the conversation that they had. You know, like that's where the conversation had with Bucky.
The old like, tough
he basically called to Bucky in his BS. You know, it's like you know, like I think Bucky's a whole different conversation, because he puts Steve on the pedestal, but for the reason of like Steve basically gave him his freedom, you know, and he feels it's a loyalty thing, you know, and like
I was gonna say, I think Steve is Bucky's Peggy.
Yeah,
it's
some
not in
fantasy,
not in the Stucky way. Not in the
like I say, in some fanfic, it goes a little too far. But
I mean, in fairness, the show could very well easily come out and be like, "Of course, I had feelings for Steve." Like,
I mean,
like, that wouldn't bother me in the slightest. But like, purely in like, they're the anchors.
The friendship.
They anchored, like, Peggy anchored Steve down to reality. Steve is anchoring Bucky down to reality.
Yeah. Well, it's like the extreme friendship, that a lot of people wish they had with people, like this. He owes, in a way, he does owe Steve.
So he owes Steve his life, right?
And
even though he died on Steve's watch, ironically.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I see where he's coming from, but like, I think Sam's more right about what Bucky's doing. Like, he's not.
100%. Yeah, he's avenging. He's not making amends.
Yeah, and I think it's going to come to. I think his arc is going to kind of like come full circle towards the end of the last episode, and like, you're going to see a thing that he's been trying to do.
I mean, he's absolutely going to apologize to the Asian guy.
I mean, he has to, right?
Yeah,
he kind of.
The whole setup, start like the whole reason why we know that guy's story is because he's going to be the closure in the arc. My question is are they going to do the thing where the guy knows it was Bucky, and that's why Bucky was hanging out with him? They're going to play it that way around?
It'd be more interesting if it goes the other way, where he tells them and then he resents, like the guy just, he
resents him, turns on him. Yeah.
I think that'd be more interesting because it, because I think Bucky needs to realize that everything, he can't be happy at the end.
Yeah, he can't. He's not going to be able to fix anything. Like, people have to feel the way they're going to feel. You have to
release it. You have to let it go, and where it goes from there, you can't control. You killed someone's son. It's not like, oh, I forgive you because you did all these things without me knowing it. And to help me out. It's like, I like that better. I love that better because it'll give Bucky more layer, because like it gives him like I said, he's just got to realize that nothing is gonna, like, what he's admitting to is not going to be easy. If it was easy, he would have done it a long time ago. Like, it's not like he killed the cat. He didn't kill a cat or a dog. He killed this guy's only son. And like, I think that's what needs to happen. For me, I think it needs to happen in that way, because like, I think it will I'll make Bucky grow a little bit as a character, and like
show is, I said it before again, but Sam's had the story, Bucky's had the development.
Yeah, and I think Bucky deserved that too.
Bucky desperately needed it,
because he's been a MacGuffin for like a lot of movies, at least 2 or 3 movies, and like, I think that, like I said, when these shows are being made, it's giving the characters what they needed, what they deserve for supporting the other characters in these movies, because like, they were never going to focus on the tertiary characters, like Bucky and Wanda and stuff like that. These were, whether you would like to admit it or not, these were tertiary characters, like the main 3 characters in these movies were always, Thor, Cap, and Iron Man.
They got introduced in a different movie, and they just tagged along. Like, they were never going to get a focus. We say never. They clearly just had focus.
But the shows are kind of like, hey, thanks for sticking in there and doing the things that's how it was more or less pitched to the actors. Like, the actors were on board regardless. I can guarantee you, like, most of the actors that were doing these characters were like just doing it because it was fun and like interesting, and like, I think Paul Bentley did it, or I don't know. Paul Bentley said it best. It's like, it's like they thought he was going to get fired, and then it turns out he was being rewarded, And,
yeah. That's way of putting it.
And like, and I think as much as I love like Bucky and Sam, right now I don't think they need a movie because eventually Sam is going to get his movie. Let's face it, it's going to happen.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, but no.
But I think this is.
To be honest, I'm glad it never got a movie because then like
a lot of this stuff
the TV show format, you get so much more time to spend. You can do so much more with the characters.
You wouldn't have gotten half of these like moments that everybody loves about these TV shows.
Exactly.
They would have been more focused on the story, the action, and then the resolution.
Like I think the one thing you might have got in a movie, it would have been completely different. Is the whole I'm right-handed.
Yeah,
I love that moment. I adore the hell out. It's just like, of course, like even though it's funny that the arm he got in Infinity War was the right hand, not the left.
Yeah.
Just like, hey. So that's kind of funny. But it's the he doesn't think about it because it is left. No.
It's the moments like that you don't get in a movie though.
But like, I can see that. It's like the whole move up in Civil War, like move your seat forward. Like it's that sort of a moment that I think you can get, but it pays off a lot better here because you spent more time with that character.
Yeah, and then you get it. You're like, oh, okay. I think. Yeah, I think the show. I think like again, I love Wanda and Vision and stuff like that, but they can't like at this point before the show. I don't think they could have held a movie. No,
like, I think those two are too high concept for a movie. I don't think they would have done that. I think it kind of maybe not. I don't know. High concept. I think they're an Ant-Man situation.
Yeah,
Ant-Man can just about hold a film franchise down. I feel like. I think you also kind of need to do it. The whole, just the nature of that character. Whereas WandaVision, it's like they're very much in that sort of vein. Two of my favorite characters ever, but I can fully admit that holding down the movie would have been very hard for those two.
Yeah, and this at this point, as much as I love Sam and Bucky, I think at this point, until the show ends, they're still kind of tertiary characters, and like because Sam isn't Captain America yet, so he's not like you're probably gonna get another show with him in it, but it's like I think they're trying to build these secondary characters up.
Give us a Captain America and Falcon show as opposed to a second season. Obviously, it's going to be a pseudo second season, really. But like, get him to that point, and then
I'll be honest with you, I don't really care. I'm not really in like it has to be a movie to be
no.
I mean, especially nowadays where TV shows are more high regarded than any movie out there sometimes, and like. Only because the simple fact is like you get more time to kind of marinate with characters and like the what's going on. Things get cut out of TV shows that would be made into movies. I like the TV show format. I like this 6 episode hour thing where it's like an hour each day.
Which I will say, if we notice, I've not once complained about the runtime because it's a really nice runtime.
Well, I think the WandaVision was more like, again, it was more of an experiment, like when they were making those episodes, they were like, well, how long is one of these episodes like for Bewitched, like these were 30-minute movies, like 30-minute TV shows.
For the sitcom episodes, the time was fine. I completely agree. You shouldn't go longer than that. Episode 4 should absolutely have been an hour.
Yeah.
And I think 7, at least 8 and 9. I think it should. Yeah. Personally, I think the show would have benefited from just having at least 3 being an hour long.
I think a 40-minute mark for me is fine. Like at 45 minutes,
40, 45 for a minimum.
Because
anything lower than that is a bit.
Yeah,
I I find it kind of hard to do. I've done it anyway. I did it for WandaVision within like 20 minutes, but it's that week. It's kind of.
Well, I think especially this show, I don't think it would have been the right fit time wise.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot to pack in that hour, and it I think, in my opinion, it hits it does its job in an hour, but it could go a little bit longer if it needed.
Oh yeah,
to,
I'm sitting here like I'd be happy if next week is an hour. I'd love it if it's like an hour and a half. Like I'd adore that. It's not going to be an hour and 15. Hour and 15, yeah, that could a nice happy little medium. But like you get, something like a She-Hulk being a half-hour comedy. Like, yeah, no, you stick to being 30 minutes. Like,
yeah,
I don't need to be an hour. Like, Moon Knight, I'd love an hour. Easily.
Well, I think what they're doing with these shows with the runtimes, it's not arbitrary. It's just there's reasons behind it. Like
yeah.
Look, I love She-Hulk. I love the concept, but I don't know if it could push an hour of storytelling.
No. I mean, it's no different to a movie, is it? Endgame could have been like 3.5 hours long, but I don't think it could have been 2.5.
Yeah.
Like, you cut an hour out that movie, like you possibly could have done it, but you had so much time with those characters in that movie that it worked. Yeah,
and like I think the runtimes for these movies are kind of a necessity too. You can't like, especially Endgame and all that, Infinity War. Like, you can't, if you do anything past, like anything lower than 2 hours, you're cutting a lot of stuff out.
Like, can you imagine if we went back like 20 years ago to when most movies were an hour and a half, and you get like Endgame an hour and a half, and like, no.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a mindless action movie, but like they're trying to tell stories. So it's like hour and a half. That's like just. I couldn't even imagine like an Avengers movie being any less than 2 hours.
And the way TV's going now, because I'm gonna segue this into something I want to touch on briefly, because I just noticed we've gone over an hour. But the action in this is on par with anything like Civil War or Winter Soldier done. For me. Like, I know that first sequence is very much.
This is what the show's about.
No, I was gonna say it's it wants you to feel Civil War, right? It's got the music. Obviously, it's got the same composer that he did Civil War to this, and they constantly played that end theme with Walker. Like, this is a bad dark moment for Captain America. Like, they want you to make that connection in your head, and then a lot of shots and moves were very much. Even the whole premise, a 2-on-1 fight, even the dialogue was flipped to how it was in Civil War. Instead of the one going, or the two defending against the one, it was the two attacking the one. Just that sort of.
Yeah.
I didn't say that exactly how it was in my head, but that's kind of the gist of it.
I think I'll be honest with you. I think the next episode is probably one of these. Like, it's going to be a really, I think, satisfying.
I'm
like,
really
it's going to be some original stuff.
There was one issue in the Nick Spencer Sam Wilson run where it was Sam and US Agent. I think they were fighting in a tunnel.
Yeah.
Or by a tunnel. And I'm really hoping the show does that. Not necessarily that in this exact same place, but I want a scene like that, because that moment in the book was fantastic.
It does happen in New York, so I mean, like, you never know. There's a lot of tunnels in there.
It's true.
I think it's gonna. I think this last episode is gonna be a very. I think I always say satisfying, but I think people will be definitely satisfied with how this kind of comes.
You don't see like one division round.
Being divisive, no. I think the problem with WandaVision, it was too out of the box for a lot of fans. This is like more MCU-ish. And like, I think I think problem people.
I think WandaVision. I think the quote problem was that it went MCU-ish in the end.
Yeah, I think.
Whereas this is kind of like, no, we are the MCU. We're going to stick to that. Like, we're going to do that well.
I've seen that too. I also seen the whole, like, this is too weird for me. This doesn't look like an MCU.
Oh yeah, I've seen
that. And again, I think that was intentional. Whether that people know that or not, it was intentional.
I was gonna say, for better or for worse, the world needs normies, and
I mean, look, normies. Everybody's got their opinion. It's fine.
It's true.
You can't always get them with everything. But like, I think the people that did respond well to it responded well I think for the right reasons. I think a lot of people.
I just hope Feige knows how much I adore that show.
Oh, he knows. But I think the only problem I see with this show is the John Walker, fan BS thing. That's the only thing that I've seen.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Yeah.
That was a problem. But I think by the end of the show, I think people, if they're smart enough, I think
I'm
they'll
not
get
sure
it.
if it's stopped, but I haven't heard anything more about it.
I don't hear anything. And I think it was just like I think it was kind of jarring to see another person in the costume and trying to be Captain America.
But even then, it's kind of worrying that people are so disconnected to that extent. It's just, guys,
does the reaction of that, was merited? No. I think what they did was stupid and dumb, and like you can quote me on that. Because if you sat down and you actually watched the show, I think you get it, even if you didn't watch the end. Like when you watch the end of the show, I think you're gonna get it even more. What they were trying to do with the character, or at least what they're trying to do with the character.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then you're gonna get people that are just boneheads and just do boneheaded things, and you can't escape that fact or problem. There's always people out there that do that. I can solve that by saying I don't want you watching a TV show. If you're going to do that to the actors, like they're actors.
You shouldn't be watching TV. It's not even a case of like you wanting
to be you should be going to therapy.
Go outside.
Should be going to therapy. That's what I like. If that's how you get if it's not the reaction to a fictional character, then there's some underlying issues with how you're thinking, and you might want to seek therapy and try to solve that problem, before you jump back into fiction, because spoiler alert, movies and TV show aren't real.
Which, speaking of things that aren't going to be real, the Flag Smashers plan, this whole what's clearly been made apparent is Mad Bum was, or at least I think the sense that I'm getting from it was Mad Bum. They're attacking the GRC, global relocation, whatever it was. It feels. We heard obviously there was talks about Mad Bum being in it and Pandemic line being cut. My pie in the sky for this is somehow it's terrorism related. Why specifically go to New York? I know Kamala's in Jersey, it's only across the river. It's essentially bloody New York.
Oh, I see the New York thing as like that's like ground zero for the Marvel Universe. So it's like
it's true.
New York is like it's like its own little world in the Marvel Universe. So like and plus it's like a very iconic, city that has been attacked in some way, shape, or form. I think that's true. Yeah. Maybe they're trying to invoke that type of image.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, like, there is a plan, I'm sure, of some type of violence against the GRC that the Flag Smashers have.
I mean, we've seen it. The gap.
Yeah.
Actually, was that in this episode? Was that in that TV spot that came out?
I don't remember.
I can't separate the two in my head. Either way, there's something going along with that. I'm begging and praying that it's humans related. I highly doubt it is. I'm not getting attached to the idea, but
it'd be interesting.
My little brain of being like, hey, this connects to multiple things. Miss Marvel, where does she get the powers from?
The only problem I see with that, and I'm not trying to poke holes in it, but it's like
it's very much pulling a thing out your ass at the last minute.
Like where would they be getting this? I think I think that might come out of just out of nowhere.
It's very much a stretch.
It's an interesting theory, and like I don't know.
I just want them back. I want them done right.
Yeah,
I wanted them back.
Honestly, I think you're gonna get it right. I think this second attempt with Inhumans, I think people
the first.
The first. I'm saying
there was definitely not an attempt before.
We don't talk about that show anymore.
Something came out. It was not an attempt.
It's been annexed from the MCU. as we know it. But yeah, you're going to get a lot of answers, and you're going to get some questions at the end of this episode. So it's going to be, and it's going to be a nice big send out action. Like, I mean, I think you've seen bits and pieces of it in the promo.
Yeah, because there's that shot of Walker in the street with the shield, and it's. I'm trying to remember if it was a new shield or if it's the one he's made. Because I'd love if Quintessa just comes up and be like, "Oh Christ,
no.
We
can't have this. here.
Not having my sanctioned Captain America walk around with a trash lid."
Yeah, maybe. He will get. I mean, like, I'm sure he'll get like a revamped look, and
oh yeah, he's got to have the black suit with the black and red on the shield.
But I think that I think that the Marvel Legends toys have leaked some of that. That possibility.
They have indeed. Yeah, toy leaks unfortunately suck.
Yeah, but I think again, I wouldn't judge a book by its cover. I mean, the toy is $20 toy, so
yeah.
God knows, But like, yeah, I think the costume will reflect where John Walker is right now, in his life, and like, yeah, I think this episode is it's gonna answer some questions and pose new ones,
as all good finales should.
Yeah, I mean, this is all connected, for God's sakes, like, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not going to be connected too much to Loki, but
oh, imagine if it was.
That would be hilarious. It's just like,
oh yeah, by the way, Walker's a variant of Steve Rogers. Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, that explains.
He is. He's the flea market version of Steve Walker, from Earth 61666.
He is the 1610 Captain America.
1610
explains so much.
Yeah.
Say it doesn't stand for France.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait till Friday to talk about that episode. Because
I can't wait either. That's gonna be.
Yeah. Bucky gets some closure. He gets to fight people, and Sam debuts a very new, colorful look. Courtesy of Wakanda.
Have you seen that meme going around?
No.
Where like he lifts open the suitcase and it's just a bunch of Turkish delight in.
That's all.
Like,
yeah, I love the fact that Bucky called in a favor on that one. Like, at that point, like, what?
I kind of just to leave this episode off, because it has been like an hour and 15. The audacity of that man.
I love it though. I love it. I love the fact that he basically said, "Hey, trust me. The guy that killed your king, he's gonna be fine. Well, do me a favor and let me use him right now." That's a huge favor, by the way. And then to turn around and say, "Hey, this guy, he needs a whole new set of threads." And
he's literally just had his wings clipped, and
also
gave him to Taurus, who's clearly going to be the new Falcon.
I was gonna say, watch out, man! Like, it's not going to be the verbatim Falcon 2, but it's he might try it.
I was gonna say, as long as there's no eyes of a bird, there's no hand, talon, feet.
He's not vampiric. He's not going to be vampiric.
As long as I can deal with like wings coming out the arms, which if they can pull that off with the suit, that'd be really cool. That actually coming out the arms as opposed to the back, that'd be a really cool touch.
I can't wait for everybody to see that costume, man, like on the screen. Like it's going to be. Oh man, it's gonna be that moment in the show, and I know people always give the MCU grief for like,
you made a show
now. Yeah, it's like I feel like seeing the suit is earned at this point at the end, because it's like,
it gives it meaning. It gives it something a reason to be. It's not just there for the sake of it.
Yeah, I think the show did a great job of delivering that message,
Yeah.
And I get it. I get a lot of people say it, and it's kind of true sometimes. But like,
it's I don't want to say it's played out, but it's a trope. You know, the whole thing of like, the suit's the story and that's the. But at least this way, we're getting a whole episode, or at least he's not going to have to go away in the episode and come back with it. Like they ended that episode with him having it. So
it's an option of whether or not he wants to put it on. But
look,
like, you know,
we've spent 5 damn hours with this man umming and ahhing about this whole damn thing. If he ain't made up his bloody mind.
Well, he's got the shield. He's using the shield. That's a good indication that he's made a decision.
It was a very symbolic. I hate using that word. It was a very telling scene where he leaves the wings with Torres and takes the shield. It's like the show kind of took everything away from Falcon. Like, obviously he gave the shield up. He lost Red Wing. He's now lost the wings. All he has left is the shield. Like, he's kind of not got a choice but become Cap at the point.
And thanks to his new best BFF, you know, like he has a suit that can reflect both of his personalities, you know, like so.
Exactly.
And it's gonna be glorious, people. Glorious.
It was one of the best ever redesigns in comics, I feel. And if they can just recapture that I've got no doubt that they haven't. Essence of that suit because it's.
Look, man, I'll give you 100% satisfaction guaranteed that, like, when you see the suit, you're gonna be like, yes, that's like that will be one of the first times that you see MCU suit reflect just like the comic version, because I think the comic version is very little to change that you need to change. Like it gives Sam, like, he has almost like 2 identities when he wears that suit, because he's like he's the Falcon and now he's Cap. So
he's not giving up who he is. But he's also accepting this responsibility in this manner.
Like he's a guy that loves to fly, and he's gonna like, you know, why would you want to take that away from him? You know, just give him the best of both. Like I think like I said, he's earned it. At the end of the show, I think he's earned the fact that he can be his version of Captain America and not you know. Not compromise.
Not just another reflection of Steve. He is Sam Wilson.
Yeah, and I think towards the end of this episode, I think he's more now kind of, you know, he still loves Steve, but like he's also not like, I mean, like I said, like I mean, throughout the whole entire MCU, it's like Sam is like giving Steve the googly eyes, you know, like I'll be here, where, you know, like whatever you say, Steve, I'll be there. You know, it's like now he's like, I'm gonna be my own person. You know, I'm gonna be. I'm gonna honor what Steve is, but also do, you know, what I think is what I would do. You know, versus like what another person would do.
So you're not him. You've got to be your own man.
Yeah, he's gonna make his own legacy. You know, and I think he deserves it. You know, I think the fans deserve it. I think the character deserves it. You know, I think it's a bit of a redemption for Isaiah in a way. Because it's now like Isaiah kind of paved the way for Sam, and I think Sam I think after the conversation with Isaiah, I think he kind of felt, I don't want to say obligated, but I think I think he is like more inclined to be Captain America at that conversation, because of his like.
He has to prove that things have changed enough that he can do it.
And of course,
obviously that things haven't changed greatly as much as people should have done, but there's still been something there that he's not just going to be experimented on for 30 years right away in the prison.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot more like conflict with that eventually in later stuff, because it's like it's almost a natural conflict. It's like, you know, the government's not endorsing you. You're a person of color that's taking up the mantle of a symbol of America. And America, 20 years ago, was putting my ancestors in chains and bringing them over here, to, you know, and now we're representing the country, you know. So I think in a way, it's sort of like, I think Sam sees it as like trying to, I don't want to say redeem the nation, but like put a symbol for his culture, and
he has to make the shield mean something for everyone. It's a symbol for everyone. It's not just a symbol for one.
It was different for Steve, and it should be different for Sam. And
Yeah.
that's where
100%.
Walker kind of diverted, where he felt like he was taking it up Steve's fight, and like making, instead of making it his own. Unfortunately, he had no choice in the matter because of like government funded. You're inclined to have to follow the bankroll. I mean, to an extent, I think he could have. I think if he wanted to, he would. I don't know. It's getting too much into it, but I think,
we'll find out. We'll pick this up next week because this is now an hour and 25 minutes. This is like, oh god.
Yeah.
But
I have to go get my COVID test. So.
Yes, you do indeed. So if the three people that are still listening at the end of this thing, thank you very much for sticking by.
Thank you, all three people.
Hopefully, that wasn't too bad to get through. I thought we had I thought that was one of the better ones we've done, to be honest.
Yeah.
And just go through the episode.
A lot less of a and ums and
So
more grammar skills.
Maybe a little bit. But progress doesn't matter.
Right.
So we will catch you all next week for the finale. Stay safe, and we'll catch you all next week. So bye-bye.
Bye-bye.